Hey, it's Michelle here. Before we jump into today's episode, quick question for you. Have you ever been physically in a room or in a conversation with someone and you're there physically, but mentally you are gone? You're so checked out. Or maybe it feels like you get overwhelmed by things more than other people. Like you kind of look around and you're like, why does it seem like everyone can handle all the stuff that they're doing, but I feel so overwhelmed by the routine stress in my life? Or maybe you feel like you just feel things more intensely than other people. Maybe you're quicker to get overstimulated, or you just feel your emotions more intensely than others. Maybe sometimes you just want to tap out, like you really just want to disconnect. You'd rather be out in nature or just with your animals. Maybe anxiety is a recurring emotion for you. And if any of this lands, you've probably thought to yourself, well, this is just how I am. But here's what's actually going on. When you were a young child and something overwhelmed your nervous system, your body adapted and your nervous system built a defense against that overwhelm. Over time, that defense became a habit, and then that habit became a pattern. And what we think of as our personality is so often just that pattern running the show. There are 5 different capacity patterns. And these aren't personality types like the Enneagram or the Myers-Briggs. They actually describe the specific strategy that your nervous system defaults to anytime you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed or maxed out, when you're at capacity. So they don't describe who you are, but they kind of describe what's blocking who you are. And once you know your pattern, you can actually do something about it. So if you're curious, go take my free What's Your Capacity Pattern quiz. The link is in the show notes. It takes just a couple minutes. You'll figure out your capacity pattern, and then you'll be invited to listen to a free private podcast all about your pattern. The link again is in the show notes, or you can go to michellegrosser.com/quiz. Don't mistake fear with whether it feels scary, right? Many things that are for the highest good are going to feel scary to you, but this is the kind of scary that is calling you forward, calling you better, calling you higher. Your intuition is going to say yes to that. The voice of fear is going to say no to that. So that's where you really want to lean into, will it serve the highest good? Because those kinds of things that might feel scary, where when it's your fear talking and saying, no, you don't have to do that. You shouldn't speak on that stage. You shouldn't encourage that woman. You shouldn't call her. You shouldn't whatever. That's fear talking. That's not your intuition. Your intuition may feel scary, but if it is calling you forward, if it is calling you higher, if it is calling you to serve the highest good, that's your intuition. And that's where you want to listen. Welcome to the Motherhood Podcast, the show for ambitious women who also happen to be raising kids. I'm your host, Michelle Grosser. I'm a certified master life coach, attorney, wife, and mom. Each week, I'm going to coach you to do the work that builds an exceptional life. We'll talk all things motherhood, mindset, and emotional well-being so that you can create a life designed by faith over fear. It's time to break through whatever's holding you back. It's time to extend your self-compassion, refocus your intention, raise your vibe, and alchemize the parts of you that will lead to a deep spiritual transformation. You are worthy of an extraordinary life in and beyond motherhood. If you're here to do the inner work and you're ready to expand, I'm here to join you on the journey. Each time you press play, your growth continues. So let's do it. I'm Michelle Grosser, and this is Motherhood. What is up, beautiful friends? Welcome to the Motherhood Podcast. I'm your master coach, Michelle Grosser. It is a beautiful day as I sit here recording today. I'm looking out my window and I'm seeing the sun shining and the palm trees blowing, and excited to get at it today. Today I want to talk to you guys about our intuition. Our intuition. And before we really jump into it, we're going to talk a little bit today about one, why our intuition is a superpower. And then second, how to discern the voice of our intuition and differentiate it from the voice of fear creeping in or the voice of our ego creeping in. And I have a few ideas for you guys to help discern, is this my intuition leading the way, or is this fear talking, or is this my ego talking? But before we get into any of that, I wanted to talk to you guys about the personality pattern quiz, because I think our personality pattern really does impact our connection with our intuition. So if you guys haven't taken it yet, there's a link in the show notes, and it's just a short couple-minute quiz. And what it's going to do is it's going to ask you a series of questions, and then on the landing page, you're going to discover what your particular personality pattern is. And there are 5 different personality patterns. And what a personality pattern is it's not a personality type. Like if you guys know what you are on the Enneagram, or if you know what you are on like Myers-Briggs or something like that, it's not necessarily your personality. But your personality pattern is something that's actually blocking your true personality from coming through. It's actually blocking, masking, hiding who you actually are. And the way that personality patterns arise and how we get into our particular pattern is that in childhood, very, very young childhood, whenever our nervous system was overwhelmed, was stressed out, our little bodies found ways to adapt and adjust and defend itself in order to receive the things that young children need, right? Safety, love. So we adapted. And the thing is that those adaptations were so successful that we continued to do them over and over. And then those adaptations became habits, and those habits became patterns. And what happened is that now we're in adulthood, and we think that these things that we do are just how we are, right? I'm just very particular about things. I'm just really loud. I'm just a overachiever or whatever. But what we don't see is that these are actually defense mechanisms. These are actually personality patterns that we've been using since childhood. So they feel so ingrained that it feels like who we actually are. It feels like a part of us, but it's actually just a pattern that we've been running when we become overwhelmed or stressed, and our nervous system is all subconscious, right? Our nervous system falls back to this pattern because it feels safe and it's worked so far. So if you haven't taken that quiz yet, grab the link in the show notes, go take the personality pattern quiz. It's just a few minutes, and then you'll find out which personality pattern your nervous system tends to resort to when you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed. When you take it, I want you guys to send me a DM and let me know your personality pattern, because one, it's so fascinating and I love hearing from you guys. And then second, I want you to let me know which parts of it or how it resonated, because I have had so many women reach out to me and tell me like, Michelle, I read through the landing page for my particular pattern and I was crying because I just felt so seen and so many things started making sense to me. And I just had such a better understanding of why I do some of the things I do that I'd never really had an awareness of before. So if you haven't taken the quiz, go take it. I say all of that to say that my personality pattern, when I'm feeling overwhelmed, when I'm feeling anxious, whatever, I resort to the rigid pattern. And the rigid pattern originates, it's actually interesting. So it's the only of the 5 patterns that doesn't result from a particular trauma in childhood. So for example, the leaving pattern typically originates when there's been some sort of trauma in childbirth. So maybe your childbirth was traumatic in the sense that there had to be an emergency C-section. Maybe you were stuck in the birth canal. Maybe something traumatic happened to your mom while she was pregnant or while she was in the delivery process. Maybe the umbilical cord was wrapped around your neck. Maybe, a number of things that could have happened that could have been traumatic for your infantile nervous system. And when that happens, those people who've had that experience tend to run the leaving pattern. So that's a particular trauma I'm talking about. For the rigid pattern, the way that originates is that through childhood, it's in one of 2 ways, right? So the first way that usually comes up is that through childhood, you experienced a really chaotic childhood, a really disorganized childhood. And then now in adulthood, your nervous system actually gravitates towards the opposite to try to maintain order and find safety in that order, right? So everything was super chaotic when you were a kid. And now as an adult, you find yourself being quite rigid and orderly and neat and all of these things because your nervous system is like, I didn't like all of that. We're going to go to the exact opposite. And this is how I'm going to find safety. So that's one way. And then the second way you can find yourself in the rigid pattern is that your nervous system, again, through childhood, as you were growing, received tons of love, tons of approval, all of the acknowledgement and everything from your caregivers, which made it feel super secure based on the things that you did, right? So you were an achiever. You probably were an honor roll student. You were probably always a high achiever. You were involved in the extracurriculars. Maybe you were in student council or student government, or you were like always the lead in the school play. Maybe you were a student athlete. Maybe you did all the AP classes and your whole thing was to get into this, particular school so that you could get this particular job to get whatever, right? So you've always been achieving. And through childhood, that was really reinforced with positive reinforcement, right? The more you achieved, the more love that your nervous system felt, the more secure that your nervous system felt. So it said, hey, this feels good. I'm going to do more of this. And again, we get to adulthood and we think, oh, this is just how I am, right? Like I'm just a high achiever. I'm just a good student. I'm just a quick learner. I'm just someone who does what I say I'm going to do. I'm disciplined. I love my lists and I have a neat house and whatever it is. But really that originates back in childhood. And that's kind of my story. Probably both those actually, now that I think about it, because one, I was the oldest of 5 kids, or I am the oldest of 5 kids. So I can assume there was a lot of chaos in the house in that sense growing up. So maybe some of that contributed to my rigid pattern now. But also I was the oldest of 5 kids. Part of that's, a birth order thing. So I was always a leader and I was on the honor roll and I was, the pageant queen and the student athlete. And of course I left my high school and I went and I got a law degree and then I opened my own law practice and now I'm a master coach. And it's like, I'm achieving all of these things. Has it served me well? Sure. It's served me well in a lot of ways, right? But it's also cost me a lot. And the beautiful thing about our patterns is that every single pattern, so whichever one you take the quiz, whichever pattern that you have, that pattern has gifts. So I just went through some of the gifts of the rigid pattern, right? We can get stuff done. We're great leaders. We're great encouragers. We're great cheerleaders. We're great motivators. We are great coaches. We typically have these professional degrees. We can keep things really organized. All of these things are great gifts of my pattern, but it's also cost me a lot. And the beautiful thing is that I can, now that I know this and have this awareness, right? When I fall into my rigid pattern, when I need to follow all of the rules and all of the things on the external in order to feel safe inside, I can catch myself in that and I can get out of pattern. And that's the key, right? You have this awareness when you're in pattern, and then you can use the tools that you have to get out of your pattern. Because when we're in pattern, we're in a stress response. And when we're in a stress response, we cannot respond to this world how we want to. We can't show up in this world how we want to. So to have that awareness, oh man, I'm catching myself. I'm in my pattern. I now have tools, get me out of my pattern. And then I can keep the gifts of that pattern, but I don't have to operate from a place of that reptilian brain being stuck in a stress response. I can actually choose consciously, right, how I want to show up, how I want to respond to my kids, how I want to respond to my husband, and I'm not stuck in this patterned response. So how does that relate to our intuition? Well, for me, in the rigid pattern, and for those of you that take the test and the quiz and also have the rigid pattern, maybe this will ring true for you too, is that a rigid pattern is completely governed by external norms, external rules, everything's external, right? So how I should do things, how I should live my life, a lot of shoulds, you're going to hear it, a lot of shoulds, how I should live my life, what school I should go to, what degree I should get, what job I should have, how I should raise my kids, what kind of house I should have, where it should be, what kind of husband I should have, what kind of job he should have. All of these shoulds are all external, right? Rigid pattern, you're going to read all the books about parenting, take all the courses about parenting, like everything from the outside telling me what to do and how to do it. And what happens in that rigid pattern, if that's something that resonates with you guys, is that you completely disconnect from your intuition. You are disconnected from the internal wisdom that you hold. You're disconnected from that internal compass and that internal guide, because everything, you're in such a pattern that everything, your complete existence and you're always referenced by what's going on around you and what others are putting on you and what others are telling on you. And your initial instinct is not to seek your intuition and to have a moment with your intuition and learn how to trust it and hear it and listen to it and let it guide you. And I know I'm not alone in this, because I've coached woman after woman who's also disconnected from her intuition. I'll have women on a coaching call and they'll be telling me all of this stuff. What should I do with this? What should I do with that? And they're looking for me, right? They're looking for me as that external voice to tell them what to do. They want a 5-step plan. They want my system. They want a worksheet. They want, me to tell them to take this course and do X, Y, and Z, and it's going to fix everything in their life. And that's not how it works. And when I turn it on them and back to them and ask them, this is what I'm hearing. What do you think? You should see their faces. What do I think? Like this whole new process. It's this whole new way to reference life, like just stopping and really connecting with ourselves and being like, hey, what do I think about this? What is my body telling me about this? Do I know how to listen? Do I know how to acknowledge and listen to the cues that my body is telling me, the wisdom that it holds? Because intuition is our superpower, right? Learning to trust that inner voice is our superpower. It is a God-given gift, my friends. I mean, there's a reason why scientists call our gut our second brain, right? Because it operates through our brain and our gut. Our intuition operates through our brain and our gut. And for us women, like the literal brain matter that connects both hemispheres of our brain, it's thicker than in the brains of men. Isn't that interesting? For us women, the matter connecting both hemispheres of our brain, it's different. It's thicker than that for men. So like we as women, we literally have this intuition superpower because we can access each hemisphere of our brain quicker than men can, right? We can integrate our intuition with our rational thinking pretty quickly. We can integrate our gut and our brain pretty quickly. And it's a superpower. We can combine our logical mind with our intuition, and it can really be so helpful if we allow it to have a voice and listen and trust it. And I think just as women, and particularly as moms, we've just been conditioned to neglect our needs, right? That's been like glorified, this selfless mom who just does everything and pours everything out for the sake of others. And I think what happens when we do that, when it's just like martyrdom of motherhood, when we neglect our needs, we actually neglect a lot of our intuition. And I think when we neglect our intuition, it becomes numbed. And I just think it becomes a voice that continues to be quieted and stilled to the point where we don't hear it, And our inner wisdom, I just want to clarify this before we go on. Our inner wisdom, our intuition, friends, don't mistake this. It does not separate us from God. It does not separate us from our Creator. This is not trusting our ego. This is not trusting, our feelings. God is so much bigger than what most of us have been conditioned to think, than we think we know, than we actually believe, right? Your intuition doesn't separate you from God. It's the Spirit's voice. Our intuition is a spiritual faculty. It's a spiritual faculty. It doesn't always explain. It often doesn't explain, but rather it just points the way. It just points the way. And the idea that comes through our intuition, through the Spirit, it might seem odd, it might seem irrelevant, it might seem confusing, it might not seem to make any sense, but some of God's leadings are mysterious, friends. It's just on us to walk it out, right? He orchestrates it. So I want you to keep that in mind as you're starting to connect with your intuition. It is a spiritual faculty. It doesn't always explain, but rather it just points the way. So as you start to hear your intuition, connect with your intuition, listen to your intuition, I really want you to focus on that. You might not understand why, but man, when you get that feeling, when you get that tug, when you get that quote unquote gut instinct, you act. You act on it. It's pointing the way, and your job is to carry it out, and that will keep you in alignment, right? Don't let your head get in the way, asking all the questions, trying to figure it all out, work out all the details in our little human brains. It's not how it works. You get that tug. Once you know it's your intuition, you act on it. You act on it. All right, so how do we know if it is our intuition, or if it's fear speaking, or if it's our ego speaking? Let's walk through a couple exercises that I think will be helpful for you guys. So here's the thing. When we don't know our voice, when we don't know the voice of our intuition, when we don't know the spirit's pull, when we don't know the voice of that guidance coming through, it can be hard to discern. It can be hard to discern at first. So one of the first things I want you guys to do is really just get clear on who you are, whose you are, what you stand for, right? What are your beliefs? What are your guiding principles and values? What are the things that are truly important to you? What are your passions? What lights you up? Make space and journal about that. And I want you to start with this prompt. Wouldn't it be nice if? So take some time, maybe tonight, maybe the next few days, grab your journal. It doesn't have to be this big process. Don't overthink it. I know we all have a ton going on, but everyone has 10 minutes before bed, right? Stop scrolling, put the phone away, put the Netflix away, even put your book away. 10 minutes. Grab a journal, set a timer. Wouldn't it be nice if? Start that at the top of your page, and then I just want you guys to brain dump. Don't censor it. No judgment. Just let your hand write whatever's coming through, write and write and write. And if you write, wouldn't it be nice if, and you can't think of anything, start writing whatever's coming up for you, even if it has nothing to do with that prompt. And I promise you, it's going to start coming, and the flow is going to start flowing. And at 10 minutes, your timer is going to go off, and you're still going to have so much to write because you're going to be in the zone. Wouldn't it be nice if? And you're going to journal about that. And then after you've journaled, wouldn't it be nice if? I want you guys to go back through what you wrote, and I want you to really meditate and unpack it. Meditate on it and unpack it. And what I want you to specifically focus on, maybe grab a highlighter, maybe grab a pen, a different colored pen or something, and either highlight or circle. Which of those desires, which of those wants, which of those daydreams in your wouldn't it be nice if prompt are actually yours? Which are actually yours, right? Like what is put on you by someone else, your parents, your caregivers, society, culture, your community. Maybe it's something religious. What has been put on you by someone or something else that is not yours? All of those shoulds, right? Question all of them. What is yours and what has been put on you that is not yours? And I want you to just allow yourself to kind of sit in this new awareness and sit in this realization and allow yourself to shift the things that are not really coming from you. And then second, I think to really understand what's our intuition and what's fear or what's our ego is we really need to get curious, and we really need to get better at listening to ourselves. We really need to get better at listening to ourselves. So when things come up, when you're trying to decide, hey, is this my gut speaking or is this fear? Write it down. Write down everything that you're thinking about and then feel into it and kind of experiment. Like, I'm trying to make this decision. If I go this way or that way, how does that make me feel? Right? We do this with food. We do this with exercise. We do this with other things. Like, I know what kind of foods make me feel certain ways. I don't have to read a book about it. I don't have to really even go see a doctor about it, right? Like, I know if I eat whatever, salmon and vegetables for lunch, I'm going to feel great and I'm going to have energy. and I'm going to be present, and I'm going to be in good spirits, and my body is going to feel good, and I'm going to be able to play with my kids and have great conversation with my husband and do the things I want to do in my workspace and in my home and in my community. And then if I sit down and have a bag of chips, which sometimes happens, I know I feel like crap after. And I know that by 2 p.m., I'm like, I either need a coffee or a nap or a run or something because I just feel groggy and my stomach hurts and I feel awful, right? Like I just pay attention to my body. Same thing with exercise, right? Like I know if I exercise in the morning, my whole day is different, right? If I exercise in the morning, instead of leaning on more caffeine or whatever it is to get me through the day, I'm setting myself up for such a different way of being. And I know that. I can feel into it. It feels so different. I don't need an Instagram account to tell me that. Like I can feel it. How does it make me feel? It's not anyone else telling me what feels best. It's actually me feeling it, right? So let go of if you're doing any of this wrong. And I want you to start leaning into your trust. Is this grounded? Does it make me feel grounded? Does this make me feel calm, present, peaceful? Or does it have an agenda? And then what I really want you to do specifically the next time you have to make a decision and you're like, is this my gut telling me yes or no? Or is this my fear speaking? Or is this my ego speaking? When you drop in and pay attention to your body, it's how you're going to get to know its voice, right? Your body always knows. Your body is so wise. There is so much wisdom in you from the neck down. Like if you just get your head out of the way and allow the spirit to really speak through you, man, that's powerful. So the first thing you have to do is you have to make space and margin. So find time to quiet everything. Quiet your mind. Quiet your environment. It doesn't need to be this long practice. It can literally be, the 10 minutes you drive home after dropping off your kids in the morning, or, you drive somewhere to do groceries or run an errand and you just sit in the car for 3 minutes, right? Before walking in. Just drop in. Play some calming music, take some deep breaths, just sit in silence and start learning to pay attention to what your body's communicating to you. Get to know your body's voice. So the next time you have to make a decision and you want to lean into your intuition and you want to hear the spirit, let it guide. What I want you to do is I want you to think of the choice that you're trying to make and what the options are, right? And as you think of each option, I want you to really visualize yourself making that option, making that decision, and then carrying it out. So let's say I was making a decision on, hiring a new employee, right? And I'm between two. And I sit here and I picture the first one. And I picture how she interviewed, and I pictured how we got along in our rapport. I picture what she told me about her experience. I pictured her attitude and her energy. I pictured how we seem to align and how we see the world and our values and all these things. And as I'm doing that, I'm paying attention to my body. And specifically, I want you to pay attention to whether your body feels expansive or restrictive. So as I'm thinking about this first decision, this first option, when I'm thinking about hiring her, working with her, having that intimate work relationship with someone, does it feel expansive? Do I feel myself sitting up taller and straighter? Do I feel my chin, my gaze start to rise? Do I feel my chest and my shoulders kind of open up and push back? Does it feel light? Does it feel airy? Does it feel good and peaceful, right? Does it feel expansive? If so, your intuition is telling you yes. Your intuition is telling you go. Your intuition is saying do it. But on the other hand, if I'm thinking about all these things and the opposite is happening, maybe my heart rate, I notice a difference and it starts to speed up. Maybe I notice that my shoulders are starting to kind of cave in and my chest is starting to contract. And I notice my head and my chin are coming down, and maybe I'm feeling something in my throat. It feels a little itchy or scratchy or like a lump in my throat, and I'm swallowing a lot. Paying attention to all of these things is a message. And if it feels restrictive, it's telling me no. My intuition is telling me no. And then the other thing I think that's really helpful too is that your intuition, the spirit's voice, will always serve the highest good. Not your highest good, the highest good. And I think sometimes our bodies have a better understanding of what the highest good is than our minds and our brains. So we can just kind of lean into that sometimes too. Sometimes I'll just sit there and I'm trying to make a decision and I'm like, will this serve the highest good? And immediately what comes through is usually my intuition. If immediately what comes through is like, no, this is going to keep you small. This is going to keep you scared. This is going to keep you, back from what you're being called to do and the purpose that's on your life, then I know it's fear talking, right? If it's no, that it's not for the highest good, that it's for my ego or my pride, or it's just making me feel good, but it's not really for the highest good. It's the short-term satisfaction. It's the stroke of my ego and my ambition or whatever it is. Like, that's not the spirit. That's not my intuition speaking to me. So will it serve the highest good? God, will this serve the highest good? And whatever pops into your mind is probably your intuition, right? So you see the trend here, right? If it feels urgent, if it feels judgy, if it feels disconnected, if it feels like it's driven in fear, if it feels restrictive, it's your ego. It's fear talking. It's trying to protect you and not in the way that you need to be protected. It's trying to keep you small, not your intuition telling you to go for it. But if it's feeling like it's coming through you instead of at you, friends, listen to that voice. That is your intuition. That is spirit talking through you, guiding you. Doesn't have to make sense. Doesn't have to have all the pieces lined up for you. You just have to act on it. You have to know its voice and you have to act on it. All right, so takeaways for today. Take the personality pattern quiz. Find out what your personality pattern is. Whether you're in the rigid pattern or not, when you get to the landing page, you're going to learn how you likely got into that pattern. That's probably going to explain a lot for you. You're going to learn how that pattern is showing up in your life when you're overwhelmed and when you're feeling stressed. And if you're a mom, that probably happens quite often. Motherhood is overwhelming. Motherhood can be stressful. So I get that. And you're going to see, oh, so that's why I do what I do. That's why I have a hard time doing this. Oh, and you're going to see these puzzle pieces start to come together. And then what I talk about is what we need to do to get out of pattern. And that's the part that's going to be super interesting. That's the part that I love to coach on. You recognize when you're in pattern and you have specific practices that you can use to get out of pattern and get back into the part of your brain that is not functioning out of stress and reacting and all of these things that are reactive, but further allows you to be in your learning brain and allows you to respond and allows you to use your maturity and your wisdom and all of the things that you have to show up in motherhood, in your marriage, in your life, how you want to. So 1, go take the personality pattern quiz. The link is in the show notes. And then 2nd, make some time. Make some time in the next day or so and really journal. Wouldn't it be nice if? And allow yourself to just brain dump, free flow, get it all out there. And then really dig through that and find out which of those things that you wrote are yours, line up with you, and then which of them are things that other people have placed on you that don't really feel like you, that aren't you. So you can start to just connect further to yourself. Who am I, right? What do I stand for? What do I value? What do I believe in? All of that's going to help connect you to your intuition and hear the voice of your intuition. And then finally, start some of these practices. The next time you have to make a decision, the next time you're not sure if it's your intuition guiding you or if it's fear or if it's your ego or if it's something else, feel into it. Does it feel expansive or does it feel restrictive? Will it serve the highest good, right? Ask yourself, will this serve the highest good? What is going to serve the highest good? Final note also, don't mistake your fear with whether it feels good. Don't mistake fear with whether it feels scary, right? Many things that are for the highest good are going to feel scary to you. But this is the kind of scary that is calling you forward, calling you better, calling you higher. your intuition is going to say yes to that. The voice of fear is going to say no to that. So that's where you really want to really lean into, will it serve the highest good? Because those kinds of things that might feel scary, where when it's your fear talking and saying, no, you don't have to do that. You shouldn't speak on that stage. You shouldn't encourage that woman. You shouldn't call her. You shouldn't whatever. That's fear talking. That's not your intuition. Your intuition may feel scary, but if it is calling you forward, if it is calling you higher, if it is calling you to serve the highest good, that's your intuition. And that's where you want to listen. All right, friends. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I love you all so much. I'll see you next time.
If you love Mommy's Podcast, leave a review.
If you enjoyed this episode, it would be so awesome if you could take a moment to subscribe and rate the podcast. And if you have just a few more seconds to leave a quick review, they really help to get this podcast out to other moms like you. I read every last review, and trust me, when it's late at night or early in the morning before my kids get up and I'm working on bringing you all of this content, your reviews are what keep me going. Leaving a review is truly the best way you can thank me. And of course, DM me on Instagram at themotherhood.podcast. I love to hear from you. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Motherhood Podcast. Head over to the show notes for this episode and all past episodes at michellegrosser.com, where you'll find free resources, information on how to join and participate in the Motherhood Village, and more ways to connect with me. If you love the show, share it with a friend. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you next time.